testing hopefuls for drugs. Expect road and rail transport to carry more passengers beginning next week. Our Paulo Barcelon joins us live from EDSA Balintawak in Quezon City. Paulo, can you tell us how and where will this be carried out?
Well, changes in transport capacities will be seen on jeepneys, buses, and trains in Metro Manila, Laguna, Cavite, Rizal, and Bulacan beginning November 4th, all of which will start at 70% capacity. Transport officials say this will gradually increase until such time that public transport protocols would allow for full capacity. Now, for traditional jeepneys, barriers are no longer required. They can also add 5 extra passengers to their current 50% capacity to meet the 70% requirement. For example, if the jeepney can seat up to 24 passengers, their previous capacity is at 12, they can now carry 17. A handful of passengers will also be allowed to stand inside modern jeepneys. Some passengers will be allowed to stand inside buses, but these will be limited to those that have a 3x2 seating configuration. Trains, meanwhile, will now be allowed to carry more passengers. But authorities say they will deploy marshals to ensure physical distancing will be followed. Transport Assistant Secretary Stephen Pastor says these recommendations were done as the agency found no link between COVID transmission and public transportation. He adds, keeping the current 50% capacity in public transport does not address ridership demands, especially now that Metro Manila is under lower coronavirus restrictions.
Mas maraming negosyo ang pinayagan na magbukas at mas marami rin po ang ating mga kababayan na lumalabas, kaya mataas na rin po lalo ang demand for public transportation.
The Transport Department asked drivers to not use the surge in fuel prices as an excuse to load more passengers. The agency also said it will coordinate with the MMDA, local government units, and the PNP to ensure that capacity regulations are strictly implemented. Back to you.
So, Paulo, we're having a long weekend because of the Undas holiday. And many are heading to the provinces. So how's traffic there right now?
Well, Ruth, as you can see behind me, take a look. This is a portion of EDSA Balintawak here in Quezon City. The northbound lane, many red lights there. You can expect a slow-moving traffic up until you reach the Balintawak interchange. So for those of our kababayans who want to head home to the north, do pack some patience as we are expecting traffic buildups at least until you reach the entry of the North Luzon Expressway. Now, on the other bound, the southbound lane, as you can see behind me, there is a smooth stretch of driving at least until you reach SM North EDSA. But just to be sure, do make adjustments to your travel time, especially at night. We understand that it's a long weekend and many of our kababayans are definitely gonna try and head home to their provinces or to different destinations for Undas. Back to you, Ruth.
Our Paulo Barcelon there reporting. Metro Manila will stay under alert level 3 for the next 2 weeks. That's from November 1 to 14. Although health experts noted improvements in the COVID-19 situation in NCR, the interagency task force says it wanted to ease restrictions gradually to prevent infection spikes.
Siyempre po, habang nagtataas tayo ng unang-una transportasyon, up to 70% of capacity, tataas po ang mobility. So inaasahan po natin that with increased mobility, posible rin po na tumaas ang mga kaso ng COVID. No? So sabihin na lang po natin na inuunti-unti natin yung pagbaba ng alert level system nang sa ganon hindi naman biglang sumipa muli ang numero ng mga kaso ng COVID.
Based on the Health Department's assessment, Metro Manila remains under moderate risk category at alert level 3. The DOH explains even though the hospitalization rate is already at low risk and cases are declining, 6 areas in Metro Manila had an uptick in infections. The average daily attack rate, or the number of people getting infected per 100,000 population, is also at 7.4. It has to be below 7 before NCR may downgrade to alert level 2.
Tinitignan natin kung maibababa pa ng tuloy-tuloy. Kapag bumababa pa ang mga kaso tuloy-tuloy hanggang sa 1 linggo, malaki ang posibilidad na bumaba rin ang average daily attack rate ng National Capital Region to less than 7.
The agency also sees a downward trend in most parts of the country and has already asked local governments nationwide to prepare for possible shift to a lower alert level. Now, the government is also expanding the alert level system to more regions next month. So here are the classifications for the following. Aurora, Bacolod City, Negros Oriental, and Davao Occidental will be under the strictest form of lockdown from November 1 to 14. Aside from Metro Manila, the IATF also retains Cavite, Laguna, Rizal, Iloilo City, Siquijor, Davao City, and Davao del Norte under Alert Level 3. New to the system are Baguio City, Bataan, Lanao del Norte, all under Alert Level 3 as well. 29 other areas have been placed on Alert Level 2. These include Angeles City, Bulacan, Nueva Ecija, Olongapo City, Pampanga, Tarlac, and Batangas. Also in the list are Quezon Province, Lucena City, Aklan, Guimaras, Iloilo, Bohol, Cebu City, Lapu-Lapu City, Mandaue City, and Cebu Province. For areas not included in the alert level system, community quarantine classifications will still apply. Mountain Province, Catanduanes, and Zamboanga City will be under Modified Enhanced Community Quarantine, or MECQ, from November 1 to 15. You can see now on your screens the other classifications for the rest of the country. The country is on alert and still monitoring developments on a sublineage of the highly contagious Delta variant of the coronavirus. The health department did not give any recommendations yet on additional restrictions for travelers from areas where the sublineage was detected. The agency says current protocols are working against the entry of variants.
Sublineage siya ng Delta, and may assumption na baka parang Delta rin ang epekto nito. No one can ever be prepared for any type of variant. Kasi pinag-aaralan di ba? Katulad yung Delta variant, sabi nila ang transmissibility is this much. Sabi nila may immune escape this much. Pero hanggang sa ngayon pinag-aaralan, di ba? How much it has affected the vaccines, how much it has affected the different populations in the world. So how can you be prepared when science and evidences are continuously evolving?
The AY42 sublineage has been tagged as variant under investigation in the United Kingdom after a recent rise in cases there. The UK Health Security Agency said this type of virus is slightly more transmissible than the original Delta variant. With the temporary closure of cemeteries and columbariums nationwide, the church tells the faithful to find creative ways to remember the dead this Undas. David Santos tells us how virtual platforms are helping Filipinos observe the tradition.
For cemetery cleaner Rodel de Guzman, the pandemic is also killing his business even during Undas. From an average of 20 clients a day, he's now down to at least 3. And some transactions are done online.
Bibidyo call ka nila para makita nila yung punto nila, para makita po naman po nila na inayos nyo.
With cemeteries closed for the long Undas break, some offer virtual visits. This Mandaluyong Catholic Church, for example, can take pictures of graves and tombs and send it to the families of the dead free of charge. Requests can be coursed through their Facebook page. On November 1st, the church will live stream the blessing of the graves.
Actually, ginawa namin yung Facebook page namin to address yung mga matatanda na hindi pwede lumabas, yung nasa abroad nag-aalala kanilang patay. Lalo sa ngayon na mag-undergo kami ng renovation, marami na alarm.
For those missing traditional family reunions in cemeteries, a Jesuit priest suggests why not do it online. On his FB page, Father J. Boy Gonzalez lists down ideas for a virtual get-together to remember the dead.
Who we are today is a contribution of their life to us.
With the unprecedented number of deaths in this pandemic, mostly due to COVID-19, community prayers and remembrance services, even online, can somehow help ease the pain of losing a loved one.
Nakakatulong talaga na sabay-sabay kayo nagmo-mourn o sabay-sabay kayo nag-aalala ng yumao, sabay-sabay kayo nagdadasal. Kasi that's a healing process. It's a process towards acceptance.
The Archdiocesan Liturgical Commission has released the family prayer for the faithful departed, a special undas prayer for those staying at home. The faithful can also submit names of the dead to churches to be read out during masses for the entire month of November. They are also encouraged to attend undas masses, whether in person or online. David Santos, CNN Philippines.
When Newsnight returns, we take you to Manila to check on the voter registration for the 2022 elections. And another busy day for presidential aspirants as they make their rounds in the provinces. Keep it here on CNN Philippines.
O, anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
Number 1 ba talaga ang Pure Food Standard Juicy? The best! No more questions, Your Honor. Walang duda! Pinaka-tender, pinaka-juicy, at pinaka-masarap. Kaya number 1. Pa-order by the court!
Walang duda! Kids can tell, number 1 ang Pure Food Standard Juicy.
In everything you do, make sure you choose what's true.
We always follow our hearts, so true adventures come our paths.
Dreams and aspirations, giving spark to all our passions.
Stay true and you know what to do.
And choose the bonds that are true.
We choose what's true. We choose GSM Blue. Choose what's true. It's all about GSM Blue. Choose what's true.
Choose what's true.
Dahil ito ang GSM Blue.
Welcome back to CNN Philippines. More people trooped to voter registration sites on the eve of the deadline. Let's now check the situation on the ground. Chrissy de Matulak joins us live. Chrissy, how's the crowd at this hour?
Yes, Ruth, as you can see behind me, only a few people are waiting in line to register and vote for next year's elections. The line was long earlier in the day as people tried to beat the deadline tomorrow, and because of health protocols, some were not accommodated. And this is what they have to say. It is not Nora's first attempt to line up for the voter registration in one of Comelec's satellite registration offices, which are now in malls for the comfort of those eager to be registered. However, Nora was unable to secure a slot for registration.
Yung nasa page po ng Comelec is 8 o'clock, yung start ng pila. So ngayon, di po ba ma'am, kasi pang 4 times na po namin bumalik dito eh. Nung nakaraan, sabi po ng pulis na nakausap ko dito naka-duty, sabi niya ma'am, punta na lang kayo ng madaling araw para kumuha ng number.
City Aina, on the other hand, questioned the election officer on why their slot was forfeited. According to Aina, she and her friends were given slot numbers. But due to the lengthy waiting time, they left the queue to do personal errands. When they came back, they were no longer accommodated.
Sabi nila hanggang 8 lang yung 8 a.m. dapat nandito na para pumila. Pero yung iba hanggang 7 p.m. nakapila na po. Tapos kami 4 a.m. na kami pumunta. Naglakad pa kami mula Quiapo hanggang dito po. Tapos wala din kami nadatnan. Hindi po kami makakapunta bukas kasi exam po namin sa madrasa. Kaya parang wala kaming time para isingit pa to. This is the last chance para lang makapag-register. Tas ganito pa po yung nangyari.
According to the Comelec officer in the area, these kinds of situations are unfortunately inevitable given the strict health protocols. Only 400 registrants are allowed to enter a Comelec satellite registration office per day. Senior citizens and people with comorbidities are being prioritized.
Sa ngayong araw po, nag-issue po kami ng 400 slots po sa mga applicants natin. Wala po kaming appointment ngayon. Kinancel po lahat namin appointment para po maibigyan daan po lahat
Yung 400 po na slots po, yun sa 400 slots po, hindi po kaya kasama po dyan yung mga priority lanes po natin. Pati po yung mga PWD, senior citizen, buntis, hindi po kasama sa mga nabigyan ng number po yun. As they come po, yung mga senior natin, dire-diretso po yun.
The officer added they have received more than 5,000 applications since the registration began. They are expecting more people will attempt to make last-minute registrations on Saturday, which is the last day. Ruth Comelec spokesperson James Jimenez says field offices have yet to submit their assessment on voter registration turnout. For those who still want to register, can check the Facebook pages of local Comelec offices to see which establishments can still accommodate applications on the last day. Back to you, Ruth.
Chrissy Dematulak there reporting. President Duterte has signed into a law a measure postponing the first regular elections of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or BARM. The regional polls will be moved from 2022 to 2025. In 2018, President Duterte signed the Bangsamoro Organic Law, which abolished the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or ARMM.
Sang-ayon po sa batas neto, binibigyan ng kapangyarihan ng ating presidente na mag-appoint ng hanggang 80 or 80 new interim members of the BTA who shall serve until June 30, 2025 or until their successors shall have been elected and qualified.
The creation of the BARM raised hopes the Bangsamoro will have a chance at genuine self-governance that it has been fighting for decades. 2022 hopefuls weigh in on drug tests for candidates. Senatorial aspirant Rafi Tulfo earlier made the proposal to Comelec. The tandem of Senators Ping Lacson and Tito Soto have no problem with this, offering to be the first to get tested. Lacson adds tests should be conducted randomly. Vice President Leni Robredo also agrees with the proposal, saying she is ready to be tested anytime. For Manila Mayor Isko Moreno and Senator Bato de la Rosa, the drug test is a must. De la Rosa's running mate, Senator Bongo, adds this will show voters if aspirants are fit for public service. Labor leader Leody de Guzman agrees the drug problem should be tackled, but through different means.
Pero yung approach ay hindi yung dapat katulad ng ginawa ni Pangulong Duterte. Dapat yan ay i-approach at kilalanin bilang health problem at hindi bilang parang mga kriminal na pinagpapatay.
Robredo also reveals how she will combat illegal drugs as well as her other plans if she wins the presidency next year. Will her approach be as bloody as the Duterte administration's? Our senior correspondent Anjo Alimario has the story.
The war on drugs was a centerpiece of the Duterte administration, a bloody war that left thousands dead. The International Criminal Court is now looking into these killings in an attempt to make government officials accountable for alleged crimes against humanity. Will presidential aspirant Vice President Leni Robredo continue the campaign?
Ganon katindi pero sa ibang paraan.
Citing her short stint as co-chair of the Interagency Committee on Anti-Illegal Drugs, Robredo says she doesn't believe in heavy enforcement. She'd rather have the Dangerous Drugs Board chair leading the agency.
Ang paniniwala ko, pag DDB yung umupo na chair, ang plano niya hindi lang patay. Ang plano niya talagang very comprehensive, heavy on prevention, heavy on rehabilitation.
Roberto says she will also continue the administration's Build program and would push for projects that will directly impact those who need them the most.
Yung sa akin, dapat yung infrastructure natin, magsuspur siya ng rural development. Kasi masyadong concentrated sa Metro Manila yung development. Kailangan ilabas siya, pero hindi siya mailalabas kung hindi natin hinanda yung mga different provinces across the country.
On high electricity rates, Roberto says all stakeholders should meet and talk, from power generators to distributors, while taking environmental concerns into consideration. Bicol is often visited by typhoons, and Roberto wants to invest in disaster proofing rather than being reactive.
Marami kasing disaster proofing na hindi magagawa on a per municipality basis. Maraming disaster proofing na magagawa lang kung ang mag-uusap yung lahat na affected.
If she makes it, Roberto is ready to give a big role to whoever will win as vice president. and prevent the experience that she had gone through. After all, she says, she's ready to be a healing leader. In Sorsogon, Anjo Alimario, CNN Philippines.
While Robredo is in Sorsogon as part of her visit to her bailiwick, the Bicol region, other presidential aspirants also made their rounds in different provinces today. Senator Manny Pacquiao went to Toledo City in Cebu, where he gave gasoline assistance to 300 tricycle drivers. His visit drew a huge crowd where physical distancing was seemingly not observed. Pacquiao has been criticized for previous gatherings in other areas where health protocols were also allegedly breached. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno, meanwhile, met supporters in Quezon City. Moreno vowed to continue the Build program, but focus on projects involving housing, hospitals, and schools. He adds it's time someone not from elite clans take the reins. Lacson also went to Pampanga to talk to local leaders and residents. Still ahead on Newsnight. Social media giant Facebook is going meta, literally. The group changes its company name amid controversies. And singer Ed Sheeran finally drops his new album. He shares the inspiration behind Equals when we return.
O, anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
Love is all about time. Di minamadali ang pagpapasarap. Like the love in every Pure Foods ready to eat. Slow cooked and ready in 8 minutes. Para may time ka sa mga mahal mo. Because love takes time.
For my babies, only vet-approved Nutri-Chunks puppies. The only one with active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real meat with essential nutrients to help them grow strong and healthy. Happiness! Listo, ganado sa Nutri-Chunks puppies.
Gumagaan ang inuman pag sandiglay. Hoy, musta?
Ako, stressed sa work kaya ini-imagine kong nasa beach ako. Ako, busy sa paglaba at pagluto. Kaya ini-imagine ko, nag-iit-olokin tayo.
Ako, ini-imagine ko yung bar dati. Laging masaya. Kasi miss ko na kayo. Buti na lang, may sandiglay dito sa tindahan. Pagtapos ng mabigat na araw, mag-inuman with friends and sandiglay. 100 calories lang, magaan sa tiyan. Ulitin natin to. Ang alin? Mag-imagine? Hindi, mag-inuman.
So many questions about what is the federal government doing. Do you get the anger that is out here? How concerned are you about the front line? You don't believe that there's a racial divide here? Looking back, as president, did you tell the story of race in America enough, do you think?
All the places I've been and all the things I've seen, all the people I've talked to, I carry with me. They're a part of what I do right here, holding the powerful accountable. Keeping them honest.
AC 360, Tuesday through Saturday only on CNN.
Welcome back. It's do or die for the Magnolia Hotshots as they face off against the TNT Tropang Giga in Bacolor, Pampanga. Game 5 of the best-of-7 series for the PBA Finals is off to an exciting start. TNT is currently leading at 17-12. If Magnolia manages to snag a victory tonight, the games continue. Otherwise, TNT takes home the title. They hold a commanding lead of 3 game wins to 1 loss. The tech company behind Facebook and Instagram is taking on a new name, Meta. CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced the corporate label will no longer be Facebook, but the social media platform's name stays. Zuckerberg said the new title was inspired by the Greek word meta, meaning beyond, to symbolize that there is always more to build.
It is time for us to adopt a new company brand to encompass everything that we do. To reflect who we are and what we hope to build, I am proud to announce that starting today, our company is now Meta. Our mission remains the same. It's still about bringing people together. Our apps and their brands, they're not changing either. And we are still the company that designs technology around people.
The change comes after multiple controversies about the company surfaced. A former Facebook product manager testified they were amplifying harmful content on the site and putting profit over user safety. And in music, the equation is practically complete. Ed Sheeran has released Equals. His comeback album, like previous ones called Plus, Multiply, and Divide, was also named after a mathematical symbol. But it took a while to solve this math problem. The Grammy-winning singer told CNN Philippines that the album remained a work in progress for a long time.
You know, I started it in 2017, so I mean, it's been a long process since then. But I think as soon as the pandemic hit, and then my daughter was born, and then my friend died, and then I turned 30, that period was the most inspiring time. I had so many different songs come out in that time. So I've been speaking to, there's a guy, Danny Filth, who's the lead singer of Cradle of Filth. So I've been speaking to him about doing a collaboration with Cradle of Filth. I think it would be like a charity thing if we do it, but yeah.
Equals features chart-topping hit Bad Habits and 14 other tracks. And before you go, after the success of A Star Is Born, pop icon Lady Gaga is taking on a fashion-filled crime drama. CNN's David Daniel gives us a look at its latest trailer on the Hollywood Minute.
I don't consider myself a particularly ethical person, but I am fair. I subscribe to unconventional punishments.
Lady Gaga takes charge in the new trailer for House of Gucci. Director Ridley Scott's juicy fashion murder drama is based on the true story of Patrizia Reggiani, who hired a hitman to kill her ex-husband, the former head of the Gucci fashion empire. House of Gucci opens in theaters November 24th.
To begin with, you take a deep breath.
Variety reports that Benedict Cumberbatch will play real-life Russian spy Alexander Litvinenko in the upcoming HBO limited series Londongrad. The former FSB agent and Kremlin critic was killed by poisoning with a radioactive isotope in England in 2006. Here's a song you can really sink your teeth into this Halloween. Kesha's mom, PB Siebert, who's written songs for some of music's top names, is releasing her haunting early 80s tune Vampire for the first time. Siebert discovered the recording of the spooky song in a dusty box in her basement this year. The dead live! In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
It's 57 days before Christmas, and that's it for tonight. I'm Ruth Cabal for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Oh, anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
RPN Radio Philippines Network. Radyo Ronda. DXKT Davao. Member, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Ngayong isa-isa nang nagsusulputan ang mga kakandidato sa 2022 elections, panahon na para kilalanin ang mga pagpipilian ng mga botante. Isa sa inaasahang tatakbong senador ang kilalang TV presenter na si Raffy Tulfo. Matapos ang higit 2 dekadang career sa broadcast, nagpaalam si Tulfo sa kanyang public service program. Formal siyang naghain ng COC nitong weekend. Matatandaang nanguna si Tulfo sa pinakabagong senatorial survey ng Pulse Asia. Noong Hunyo, nasa pang-4 siya sa ranking ng senatorial preferences kasunod ni na Senator Pacquiao, Mayor Isko at Mayor Inday Sara. Pero sa kasunod na Pulse Asia survey nitong Setyembre, naungusan na ni Tulfo ang ibang tinitingnang posibleng kakandidato. At kaugnay niyan, makakapanayam natin ngayon. First time niya dito sa CNN Philippines, si Senatorial Aspirant Raffy Tulfo. Good evening. Okay lang ba? Is it okay if I call you Raffy or would you like Mr. Tulfo?
Okay lang. Yeah. Raffy is okay. Raffy. Good evening.
Okay, thank you very much, Raffy, for joining us tonight. So, wow ha, you tied with Alan Cayetano ranking 1 to 2 sa Pulse Asia, September 6 to 11. And then, like we said earlier, no, yung June survey, ranking nyo is 3 to 6. What do you attribute this to? Is it your, some people say your brand of public service, your brand of justice, getting things done, your, popularity dahil kilala ka, no? You're a TV personality.
Pangalawa nang siguro, PA, yung popularity, I think it's more of yung tiwala ng taong bayan sa akin, yung tiwala ng mga tao na malapit sa akin para idulog ang kanilang mga problema na mabilis ko naman na-actionan. So, hindi natin pwedeng lokohin yung mga tao. Alam naman talaga nila kung ano yung taong nagsisilbi sa kanilang tunay o nagsisilbi-silbihan lamang. In my case, nakita nila na talagang merong sincerity ako sa pagbigay ng solusyon sa kanilang mga problema, sa pagpakinig sa mga dinudulog nila sa akin.
Okay, so parang the idea that you get things done, yung tinatawag na brand of justice of Raffy Tulfo, is that it?
Yeah, another thing that I would like to point out, Pia, kasi RTIA is a product of a broken system in government. Marami kasi mga maling sistema na hindi maganda na nangyari sa gobyerno. Kaya yung mga tao, sawang-sawa na pagod na sa kalapit sa mga gobyerno, sa mga taga-gobyerno na pinaikot-ikot lamang sila, that's why they come to me. Now, kung maayos sana ang pamamalakad ng ating mga taga-gobyerno, hindi na nila kailangan ng RTIA, hindi na nila kailangan ako.
Okay. It seems to be na parang you're so focused on that, na para bang ang gusto mong gawin is to help people, to get them the justice they deserve as far as you're concerned, to address their needs right away. Is this something that you will do, that yung gagawin mong batas? What are you going to do to, like you said, kasi you want to help people, you want to protect them. So what is it as a senator that you can do for them if you do get elected?
Okay, thank you, Pia, for that question. Now, ang advocacy ko ay tatlo, Pia. Ito yung araw-araw na mga problema na ikwentro ng aking action center na nakakausap ko na binibigyan kong solusyon, OFW, labor, and family. So, dyan talaga magiging center ng aking advocacy, ng aking legislation to make sure na darating yung time na yung RTIA ay hindi na kailangan. Kumbaga maging paso na because nakapagpasa na ako before the end of my term kung papalarin na mga komprehensibong mga legislation that would really solve all these problems na inilaki sa akin na mga complainants ng OFW, labor, and family.
Alam mo, Raffy, syempre yung candidacy mo or yung magiging candidacy mo and you're having filed the COC and you yourself as a personality, you are not without controversy. You're a very controversial guy. There are a lot of people who say good things about you. There are a lot of people who say bad things about you also. And I'm sure you know that, no? And then lately, napapansin ko, if you search your name on social media, there's a lot there about people canceling you. Alam mo na yun, di ba? Yung kina-cancel ka, yung nag-unsubscribe sa YouTube channel mo. What is that all about?
Okay, well, first of all, yung pag-unsubscribe nila, yan, Pia, ay isang option sa YouTube na available doon sa mga tao na ayaw na mag-subscribe sa isang channel for whatever reason. So I think these people are just practicing that option or using that option. Now, nagkaroon kasi ng misinformation tungkol sa nasabi ko sa isang pronouncement ko sa aking programa. Pinag-aaway lang ako nitong mga taga-DDS na dati naman member din ako ng DDS. Siguro hindi na nagustuhan ang tutunay talaga nilang reason kung bakit. I think it's not about ABS-CBN. I think it's about, they thought me running against the president as VP ni Senator Manny Pacquiao, na hindi naman totoo. At doon nag-umpisa yung galit nila, doon nag-umpisa yung pagbabash nila, doon nag-umpisa yung pagpapakalat nga ng mga maling impormasyon.
Okay. All right. I have a few questions, Rafi, before we go to a break. No, of course, pag senador ka, hindi ka naman part ng executive branch of government, and therefore you cannot really run government, and you will be able to, implement policy, for example. But of course, the biggest question today is how the next administration, how the legislature in the next administration will be handling or will want to see the health crisis handled differently. Because of course, ang pinag-usapan, balancing lives and livelihood and lockdowns. No? How do you want to see the health crisis, the pandemic managed better?
Okay, let's talk about the future, Pia. Sa ngayon, nakikita natin maraming mga maliliit na kumpanya, small business and medium enterprises na nagsarahan. Kasi yung ating economy ngayon, if you remember, if you know, na based on what we call is yung consumer-based economy. Yan ay dahil umaasa, nakasandal yung ating ekonomiya sa mga remittances ng ating mga OFW. At nakikita mo naman, marami sa ating mga OFW na papauwi na. So, pag ako'y nasa Senado, I will introduce legislation na para magkaroon tayo ng konting shift going to a production-based economy. At ano yung production-based economy? Napakayaman piya ng ating bansa sa natural resources. Nandiyan yung coconut, nandiyan yung cacao, sugar, banana, and so many other agri-products na bakit natin hindi i-develop yan. So I would come up with legislation na to encourage companies, corporation na mag-invest sa ganitong klaseng endeavor, corporate incentive, tax incentive na mabibigyan sila. That way, it will generate employment and at the same time, it will generate revenue for our country.
Corruption, of course, systemic. It's like a given already dito sa Pilipinas. What would be, again, syempre, lawmaker ka, no? But what kind of strategies would you like to see the next administration to really combat corruption? Yung parang matapos na talaga ito. And would you, for example, in the future, merong airing official, no? Would you like to see them reappointed or would you like to see them fired?
Well, of course, I would like to see them fired. First of all, I would like transparency in government. Yan kasi naikwento ko ngayon na problema even in my line of work. Kapag ako'y tumatawag sa mga iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno para ilapit yung tulong ng mga lumalapit sa akin, mga kumpay natin, walang transparency. Nagtatago sila. Kuminsan, pag tinatanong ko, bakit hindi na-action itong problemang ito, tinatago nila. Ayaw niyan sabihin kasi sinasabi nila, kailangan pa sabihin sa mas nakakataas. Yung pala, yung mas nakakataas, may utos sa kanila na magsalita dahil may nangyari ng kabalastugan. So when I get there sa Senate, then I will introduce legislation na magkaroon ng transparency in government, more transparency.
Can you specify exactly how that's going to happen? Like what kind of a bill would allow more transparency in government?
Sa ngayon kasi, halimbawa, meron tinatawag na privacy data law na hindi ka pwedeng mangimasok sa mga pamamalakad o ginagawa ng mga taga-gobyerno because they will always say that to you na bawal yan. Hindi naman sinasabi sa batas. Example, SALED. Ngayon, isang may kausapin yan na hindi pwedeng ilabas yung SALED, sa President, Vice President, at kung sino-sino pang matataas na opisyal sa ating gobyerno, at mismo yung ombudsman nagsabi niya na bawal. Bakit bawal? Pag inanungkulan ka sa gobyerno, dapat ready ka na i-open ang yung SALED, i-open ang yung kayamanan. Kung pumasok ka, dapat ito yung pera ko. Ngayon, nasa palagitnaan ng pagservisyo ko, ito pa yung pera ko, paglabas ko, ito pa yung pera ko. Na kapag pasok mo, ito yung pera mo, paglabas mo, ang laki ng pera mo, then there's something wrong. So dapat there's transparency. Dapat yung SALED ng kahit sino man, mula presidente hanggang sa pinakamababang ranggo ng elected officials sa gobyerno, dapat ilantad yan sa publiko. Dapat nakikita ng publiko yung kayamanan ng mga taga-gobyerno.
Alright, well, nasagot mo na yung isang yes or no question natin, Mami God. But we have other questions for you. Rafi Tulfo, please stand by. Like I said, marami pa kaming pag-uusapan ni Senatorial Aspirant Rafi Tulfo. Abangan yan dito lang sa news.ph. We'll be right back.
Sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
News.ph sa CNN Philippines. Kasama pa rin natin ang batikang broadcaster at senatorial aspirant, the very controversial Rafi Tulfo. I was about to say Erwin. Yung kapatid niya kasi naging co-anchor ko for a long time. But anyway, Rafi, before we go to the yes or no questions, just one last question. Yung yes or no pala mamaya, yes or no lang. You cannot explain. So, syempre, one of the most controversial programs of the Duterte administration, itong drug war, no, the anti-drug war. Are you in favor, in the next administration, are you in favor of another ironclad, no-nonsense anti-drug policy? You know, would you fight the war on drugs the same, or would you want to see the war on drugs fought the same way it was fought during this administration?
No.
No.
Yes.
What was that? No?
Yes, no. Kasi marami na mamatay.
It's okay. Hindi naman yes or no question yan. You can explain. You can explain muna. So, you're saying na hindi pwedeng ganun ulit?
Kasi dapat this time magkaroon ng due process. Dapat ma-observe natin yung karapatang pantao ng kahit sino man, whether is a suspect or whether is a criminal. Meron din karapatan siya. At lalong-lalo na, huwag dapat siyang pinapatay. At kung meron mang problema sa isang addict, meron naman tayong mga tinatawag na rehabilitation centers na pwede natin sila iparehab.
Okay. Alright. So you're saying para bang we should take a medical approach also. It's a public health approach din dapat. Ganun ba?
Yes. Kasi ang nangyayari ngayon, Pia, pag na-identify lang ang isang taong gumagamit ng droga, kahit na hindi pa, delikado, nakakatakot, baka merong mangyari na sa taong yun. Why don't we focus instead more on yung sa health issue, sa rehabilitation? Why don't we focus on that? How to treat these addicts na para magkaroon pa silang pag-asa magbago sa kanilang buhay, para sa kanilang pamilya.
Okay. Interesting to hear you say that. Okay, ito na yung mga yes or no questions. Like I said kanina, the question about the SAL-N, you already jumped into that earlier. So there are a few other yes or no questions. Again, like I said, no explanation, yes or no. Do you support lifting foreign ownership limits in the Constitution?
Yes.
Do you favor the reimposition of death penalty, the death penalty for drug-related crimes?
No. Can I add a little bit? Because only the poor are the ones who are convicted. Because the rich people, they get away with it most of the time. Pag may pera ka, natatakasan mo. Pag yung lubi na walang pera, yun talagang palagi nadidiin. Yun palagi ang nabibiktima. Well, not really victim. Sila talaga yung palaging nakukulong. Kahit na walang kasalanan, nakukulong sila. At sila yung nabibitay.
Okay.
Add a little bit.
Alright.
And even in abroad, marami sa mga nasa death row at yung iba na sentensya at nabitay na later malaman-laman na inosente pala sila. Yan, Amerika yan na with all the technologies that they have, the kind of investigation that they have, still nakakalusot pa rin doon sa butas ng justice system nila na nakukundik ang isang inosente at nalalagay sa death row. Just imagine dito sa Pilipinas, country tayo, we're way behind when it comes to investigative system. So, just think about that. Rugi palagi ang nakukulong. Yung mga yaman, nakakalusot.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. No, we have a lot of yung tinatawag na wrongful convictions also. This next question, although, President Duterte has said he's not running for VP, but, well, we never know yet. But the question is, again, yes or no lang ang sagot. Should a sitting president be allowed to run for vice president in the next election? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Yes. Do you favor resuming peace talks with communist rebels? Yes or no?
Yes.
Should the country be more aggressive in protecting its maritime interests in the West Philippine Sea? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And my final question before I let you go, Rafi, and then before you give us some final words, no. You have a party list group, yung ACT CIS party list group. Your wife is one of the nominees, and together with Eric Yap, right? So, tatakbo ulit syempre ang ACT CIS, and then if you do get into the Senate, it's like para bang marami kayo, kumbaga, no, in elective office. What do you think of? Siyempre maraming batikos pag ganoon. Senador, sa isang pamilya may senador, may congressman, may mayor, may party list, ganoon. What do you think of all of that?
Pia, ganito yan eh. Why should we let the people decide kung payag ba sila na senador ako at yung wife ko congresswoman, na kung ayaw na nila na magkaroon ng dalawang tulfo sa politics, then huwag nilang iboto ang isa sa amin. Or wag nilang iboto kahit na sino sa amin. Now, if they think na magiging capable kami, magawa namin yung aming trabaho na maayos para sa kabuti ng ating bayan at mamamayan, then vote for us. Ganun lang yun. Kailangan yung taong bayan ang mag-decide. Silang bahala mag-isip at mag-decide pagdating ng halalan kung kailangan bang iluklok ang katulad ko at kapamilya ko. It's all up to them.
Okay, and for my final question for you, Rafi, so right now, like we said, when we started, so ranking 1 to 2 ka sa survey, but this is the September survey, no? There's like how many months to go before the elections, so we don't really know how things will go, no? If you will still be within the top 12, hindi naman natin talaga alam, ano? What do you think, how are you going to feel if, for example, by some stroke of I don't know what, bad luck or something, biglang hindi ka you don't make it, no, you don't get into the Senate, how would you feel about that?
Yun, okay lang sa akin. So, ibig sabihin, ayaw ako ng mga botante at kung pagpipilitan ang sarili ko kung ayaw nila sa akin. So, no hard feelings.
Okay, maraming salamat sa iyong oras, Rafi Tulfo, senatorial aspirant, independent pala, no? Independent. Thank you very much for being with us tonight, Rafi.
Thank you for having me.
Susunod sa News.ph, Coronation Night sa Miss World Philippines 2021 na puno ng kontrobersiya. Ang buong kwento dito lang sa CNN Philippines.
Sa'yo, ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na, masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
O, anyari sa'yo? Nakasimangot ka. Alam ko na, masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress. Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.